Hey guys, welcome to Fantasy Effect episode 82. This is week 4. We had a title for it. I forgot the title. Don't worry about that. We have our own free Discord. We have a Patreon now. If you guys are interested in any of those, please DM us on the Twitters. And please like, comment, and subscribe if you guys are not. I got Holler and Mick Spanky with me tonight. How's it going, guys?
It's going, and that was my fault on the show doc. I didn't update the title. I just says
You're
week
fine.
5.
You're fine.
I didn't match it to the YouTube thumbnail, so that was my bad. That's on me, really.
It was a clever name too, and I was like, son of a.
Yeah.
It was. We were. I was just looking at it. It was teams in low places.
Yeah.
I got
Garth Brooks?
friends in low places.
Yeah, I got that.
I thought you guys would like that one.
Kyle Pitts sucks.
I mean, it was a little bit of an alluding to that, but yes, because he's on the cover with it.
Teaser.
And, fun fact on the thumbnail, there's like that 0-4 team where points for is 12th. That's one of mine. So
oh boy,
that was a personal one. That's actually for my very first dynasty team I ever drafted, where I started out with Michael Thomas and Kenyon Drake. And you can kind of see why it is still bad at this point. So.
What a start. What year was that?
A lot of
2020. How old was I back in the day?
Back in the day. This was a Wednesday, in case you're wondering.
It's a 1 QB league, and nice reference.
Thank you.
And no one trades in that league too, so it's just crappy. And every trade I have gotten done has just somehow backfired. I mean, dudes have just gotten injured. And anyways, no one wants to hear about my shitty teams. Anyways, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Funny thing with Kyle Pitts is I have a team. I'm 6-2, and I have Kyle Pitts, and I am looking to maybe sit him for yours truly, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, baby. The fantasy relevant Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
I start Zach Ertz all day. I wouldn't even think twice about that. I wouldn't even feel bad about it.
We're in
I caught so much flack for that Zach Ertz episode. Oh man.
It's a tough spot if you have a lot of Kyle Pitts. I'm sorry they're stranded. I think you're pretty high up there with your rostership.
Stranded's never met a buy low he didn't like. Ask him about DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, true that.
See, here's the thing with buy lows. We can talk about it real quick, right? And I'm not gonna crap on Stranded too much, but just like buy lows in general. Sometimes guys are buy lows because they're just mispriced in the market, right? Or they're injured or whatever. Sometimes guys are buy lows because they suck and you shouldn't be buying them. And it's hard to decipher sometimes why they are buy lows. Is it because they're being misused, they're just not being used right? Or is it because they can't do it and they suck?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There's always you can always come out of the negative when you can get a buy low and they turn it around. So
you can.
I don't think it's always doom and gloom when you're buying low.
Yeah. If you bought Sam Darnold, you're pretty happy right now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It can work out, but you could also, try to buy low on Jalen Reagor after his rookie season. And look where I got you.
Or someone like Marvin Mims. I was just looking at my rostership. I got him and
John Dawson.
I tried to tell you, Holler.
I don't think I bought any on the off season this year, so I think I'm all right. Maybe I think it was more like drafting him. So we're good. Whoa. All right. Well, let's
Fight Club over at Ron's house.
Let's get into the news, huh?
Don't worry about the dog fight. Yes. So Justin Herbert re-aggravated his ankle in the Steelers game. Once again, just monitoring him. I'm sitting Justin Herbert anyway. Is this from last week?
I think you're on the wrong show, Doc. So while you get the right one pulled up, Rashee Rice got hurt in his game against the Chargers. Initially, it looked like he was pulling, he had an ACL tear, but it looks like now it might just be some kind of a knee strain kind of deal, and he's maybe not tearing his ACL. I don't think. Have we gotten an official announcement on that yet, or is it just? I know he's out this week, right? But there's some optimism about him being able to be back within maybe like a month or so. What are you guys doing with Rashee Rice?
I still moved him down, and he's my. I guess we can talk about it now, but he's my trade of the week. So this is really on teams that you are competing, right? If you got some 4-0 teams, 3-1 teams, I'm moving him for George Pickens straight up, and I sent 6 of these offers out, and I got 5 done and 1 declined. On one of them, I had to add a 25 third to it. I'm hoping, obviously, that's going to be a late one. So I'm feeling good about this because George Pickens is kind of like on the incline. I know some people don't like Justin Fields, but I think, to me, he's the only wide receiver there in Pittsburgh. I know Freiermuth is getting involved just a little bit more. And I also know that, George Pickens is on a very long streak of not scoring touchdowns, but he is also on a streak of scoring over 10 points. So to me, it was, I'm not necessarily a smash, but I just feel like I was probably sending these all out on the notion that Rashee Rice had a torn ACL and he was going to be out the rest of the year, right? But even if he's out for, say 4 to 6 weeks, I'm feeling good about this because I don't think, I personally don't think I can, on my teams, I don't think I can continue by, just putting in a Demarcus Robinson or something like that versus getting those points from George Pickens. So if I'm contending, I feel good about adding George Pickens for Rashee Rice. And on the flip side, I would do the same thing. I would move George Pickens for Rashee Rice on any of my 0-4 teams. I tried to move. I haven't heard back, so I pulled the offer. It was 2 days ago, but I tried to move. I have a team that I think it'd be 3-1 without the median. But I tried to move. I have 6 really good wide receivers, and I tried to move T. Higgins for Rashee Rice just to maybe stash Rashee Rice. And I didn't hear back ever, so I just pulled that one. But something like that, if you feel like you're deep, and we are starting to hear some good things about Rashee Rice, maybe he's back in 6 weeks, then maybe looking to move someone like a T. Higgins, because I don't know how well he's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot up and down this year with T. Higgins. So I think someone like that you can move for as a Rashee Rice. You can stash Rashee Rice for the next couple of weeks if you feel really good about your team, and then put him back in if he's back, for the last stretch of the fantasy season.
Oh, I like that a lot, and I think sometimes too, if you're a contender or if you're maybe not maybe don't have the depth to be the top 1 or 2 teams, but you're still a playoff team. Sometimes you got to make those moves, right? Where it's I got to stay in the playoff hunt, and maybe you look back and in a month or two when Rashee Rice is back, and you're yeah, I lost value, but you kept getting points in your starting roster spots with George Pickens, and you went 3-1 during that time instead of maybe 1-3, and then your whole season's kind of up in the air, right? So
yeah,
I like it. It's a tough call, but you got
and I think so. If we pull up the player rankings real quick on, I'm pulling Dynasty Daddy real quick, right? And right now, if you look at George Pickens is 2 spots above Rashee Rice, and I'm sure Rashee Rice is down because he's injured currently, but they've always been close. I think George Pickens is kind of a really good flex play, a wide receiver 3, and so I know Rashee Rice has that wide receiver 1 upside because he's tied to Patrick Mahomes, but I feel like George Pickens is going to get the points. So exactly like you said, let's hope to, maybe he's out 4 weeks. I'm hoping I can go 3-1 versus 1-3.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I tried to do the same thing. I had absolutely zero luck. I even sent out a Rashee Rice for Terry McLaurin and Khalil Shakir, and I was declined. I even DM'd him. I was like, "Are you interested at all?" Nope. He is 0-4 at this point and last in max points for. So
yeah. So little caveat with mine. I think 4 out of the 5 that got accepted. I think 3 of them are a lot of guys we play with. From the original Dynasty Theory Discord. And then the other 2 are randoms, or I think one's not even a random. One's a league. I think that you're in, Spanky, and so one of them was kind of random. And so I think it all depends on your teammates, right? If they're not really locked in, that's I can totally see that response of no thanks.
I mean, that's the thing is like every league's different, right? And just like so
Definitely.
we'll talk about players as like this is kind of their trade market, but that doesn't mean that trade is getting done everywhere, right? Because some
Yeah.
guys, some people just aren't comfortable trading, and that's the kind of the facts in dynasties. Some guys just don't, or women, right? Some people, managers, just don't feel comfortable
Stick and
trading
pick.
unless they feel like someone else, like a well-known person in the industry, is telling them like, oh yeah, it's a smash, you should take that.
Yeah.
Because they're not confident in their own evaluations, and that's fine. Like everyone plays differently. Not everyone spends as much time on it as we do, right? And so,
Well, as a super well-known person in the industry, you guys should just accept all trades that I send, just auto.
You got
Just
it.
throw that out there.
You got it.
Just kidding.
And I just feel like
okay.
I also feel like it was something I wanted to explore. So there's talking points for for our Discord and for other people. Like I think that's something that can get done on a team that you are trying to compete and continue to compete. You can't lose those points of Rashee Rice just standing pat and losing those points. And to me, I think Rashee Rice and George Pickens are really close to each other, even if we take the injury out of it. So
see, what I like about that too is that like sometimes when you start acquiring like injuries, they're accumulating injuries throughout the year, you start sending out like future draft picks and then trying to like chase points, and that's when you get yourself into trouble where it's like maybe some of those guys don't pan out, and then you miss the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you don't have your first round pick, maybe you don't have your second round pick, maybe you don't have your first round pick in 2 years, and then you just really kind of set yourself back. So with this one, even if Rashee Rice outscores George Pickens on a points per game basis, I'd say maybe like extra like 2.5 to 3 points a game, like you're not like you didn't set yourself back, like you still have your picks, like you're still if it doesn't work out, like you didn't like,
Pickens is still young too.
Exactly.
There,
Pickens is what, 23?
And I think it was minimal risk there. I've been trying to learn over the years of sending out trades that have minimal risk, right? If you're I'd rather try to rebuild and get picks versus in week 4, week 5, you're sending out your first and boom, the whole thing can change. Like, you get a few more injuries and boom, now you don't have your first. You're probably going to be a top 5. That's going to be a top 5 pick, and then you kind of set yourself back another year. I've done that way too many times, and that's just learning how to send trades that have minimal risk, right? A lot of reward, but minimal risk.
Definitely. Okay, so on from old Rashee there. Nick Chubb and T.J. Hawkinson have had their 21-day practice window open up today.
Chubb did. Hawkinson, I think, is on Friday. He's going to practice and open.
On Friday, he's going to open? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the tight end landscape, I'm stoked about T.J. Hawkinson coming back. Sam Darnold looks good. I'm really stoked. We could get hurt again like we do with most of the tight ends, but Tucker Kraft is being a tight end that we feel good about. I think T.J. Hawkinson could be good, right? As he just needs to get a few catches. Maybe if he can put up 40 yards, 50 yards, and then some weeks he gets a touchdown. Like I'm really stoked to put T.J. Hawkinson back in my lineups. I know it's going to be a couple more weeks, but I feel good about it.
I think they said they're eyeing a week 7 because they're on bye next week, and so the week after that. So not this week or the week after, but
and that was exactly what I was thinking of. If I was drafting T.J. Hawkinson, I noticed like this summer when he did some startups, like he was falling a little bit, and I would grab him on a team that I felt good about, or even on a team that I was trying to be young, but then boom, I can throw in T.J. Hawkinson on a team that's playing well right now. And then hopefully if your team's not doing well, T.J. Hawkinson comes back and has 1 or 2 good games and you can move him, right? So that's the best case scenario there.
Definitely. Especially like you guys mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, nope. I was just going to bring up a trade that some people in our Discord did today. I won't bring the names out, but there was like Garrett Wilson for basically Hawkinson straight up. There was a 25 fourth on the Hawkinson side, but what did you guys think of that one? It's for context. It was a tight end premium. It was 2 points per tight end.
Was it 2 tight end or no? If it's 2 tight end, I really like that. Like I feel like it's a very even trade, and honestly, the way Garrett Wilson's playing right now, and I don't necessarily think it's totally his fault, but I feel good about Hawkinson there. Might be 2 tight end. I mean, I would like to look and see, but if it's just a tight end premium, I think I still lean the Garrett Wilson side. but a 2 tight end,
See-
I'm leaning Hawkinson.
I don't, and I was gonna talk about Garrett Wilson a little bit, but like as talented as he is, like is it ever gonna work? Like you don't get points for being a good player, right? So
Thanks, Brandon. Single tight end.
and okay, single tight end. Yeah, honestly, I could talk you like I could see either side. I don't think it's outrageous either way. I thought it was a good trade, which is why I wanted to bring it up. But I kind of like the Hawkinson side there just because I feel safer with it. Garrett Wilson, like he's getting used a ton, right? Like, but it's not converting into fantasy points. He's hold on, I have my notes. Where was it? Okay, 31% first read rate, 34% in air yards. So it's just not. But like his fantasy finishes are 29th, 33rd, 29th, 49th. Like it's just awful. And like if you look at the Jets right now, if you're an opposing defense facing him, like okay, this is what you're looking at, right? You're looking at Garrett Wilson, the Lazard King, Tyler Conklin, Mike Williams, who's not quite himself, and then Brees Hall. So it's like if you're looking at that, you can just bracket Garrett Wilson and then max run fit and then 1-on-1 with the other dudes, and you're good to go, right? So
yeah,
he hasn't produced, and like as good as he is, like. Is that going to change throughout the year? Like, unless they trade for Devontae Adams and then that helps open things up. But like the way it stands now, like nothing's going to change with Garrett Wilson other than he's the best, receiver on the field for him. But they can't get him the ball, and the offense has looked horrendous. Like they're not scheming things up for him. They're just kind of running their offense straight as it is, and it's just it's ugly. And I don't want Garrett Wilson
his schedule doesn't get any easier throughout the next 4 weeks either. He's going to get the Vikings this weekend. That defense has been terrorizing everybody.
That's in London.
The Bills, that's in London as well. The Bills, they don't have a premier corner, but other than the Ravens just running roughshod with Derrick Henry through them, like wide receivers haven't done much against the Bills. Then he gets Joey Porter Jr. and the Steelers, and then he goes back to Christian Gonzalez and the Patriots. That's the next 4 weeks for Garrett Wilson.
Like I feel like you can't even start him at this point. Like, but you feel like you have to if you have him on your roster. It's one of those guys where like his value is super high, but the production just doesn't match it. And those are the kind of guys that I feel like they look good on paper, but then you look at your teams and you end up. This is how you end up with 1-3 teams or 2-2, but maybe your points for is pretty low. You just kind of got lucky on a couple of games.
So this is interesting. I've just pulled up Dynasty Daddy rankings. He's wide receiver 7, and Malik Neighbors is down at wide receiver 10. If I can move Garrett Wilson for Malik Neighbors, which I don't think will happen, I would do that every day of the week. Right? I would do that every day of the week. It's just straight up. I don't need a plus at all. I would even add a plus to Garrett Wilson to get myself.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Would you add a first to get to Malik Neighbors? Because at this point, I'm feeling like I
might. Yeah, I would need to feel really very convicted that my team was good, and if I had if I also had a AJ Brown as well on my team, or like a Puka coming back, I think I would do that.
Sure.
I wouldn't have a problem with it. I just I'm leaning towards not really moving my firsts anymore because I think it really gets you in a hole. So I feel like right now it's a little too early. But if that's what I had to get done to get myself Malik Neighbors, I think I'm there. Right. I have in my rankings, I have Malik Neighbors all the way up he's in my 5th tier, right below Amon-Ra St. Brown as my wide receiver 5.
I moved Malik Neighbors up. I have him tiered with Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb.
Dang. So wide receiver 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, KTC. I'm just kidding.
I feel how I feel, and he's good, man.
He is.
I don't know if we'll touch on it later, but yeah, I moved Jaden Daniels all the way up to QB7 on my tier 4, right below Jamar Chase. We're going crazy with these guys, but they're putting up points. They are putting up points, and they are fantasy monsters.
Here's the thing, dude. They're putting up points, and some of the elite guys that we had going into the season aren't. And it's it's one of those. It's a fine line. You don't want to overreact, but you also don't want to be too slow to adjust. That's how you value.
On a team that I think I got it maybe a week ago now, but on a team that I'm not even competing at all, I have Jaden Daniels. Somebody came to me and tried to move me what was it? I think just like a first and another QB that's crappy. And so I sent back Justin Herbert and 2 firsts just to show them like how much like I think that was not. I knew that wasn't going to happen, but just to show them how much I think Jayden Daniels is worth. And in fantasy, that's like I think realistically it'd be like Herbert and a first. I'd get it. I'd do it probably, but I'd have to double. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah,
like I'd have to think twice on it. Just because like I know maybe he's not the greatest week in week out, which we've seen so far. He is, but like NFL quarterback. But in terms of fantasy, Jayden Daniels is getting it done, and he's putting up points.
Yeah.
Just going back to Garrett Wilson real quick. Let's say you want to move off of like what else would you need to go from DK Metcalf up to Garrett Wilson? Because to me, it's one of those things where DK Metcalf is always a little bit undervalued, and Garrett Wilson's a little bit overvalued, and just straight up like their points per game difference is DK scores points. Garrett Wilson doesn't.
Right.
But the value, right? What would you need to move?
Are you asking going from DK to Garrett Wilson?
No,
or vice versa.
What would you want to get?
Got you.
In return.
So to move down to DK.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you get a second?
That's what I was thinking. It's like if I can get any two, I would feel good about it.
Second worth, yeah, definitely. Like maybe Brian Thomas Jr. as well, DK and Brian Thomas Jr. for Garrett Wilson. I would totally do that.
Well,
I know Garrett Wilson.
Brian Thomas Jr. is like worth he's like a mid first now though. Like he's moved up a ton.
I just looking down at like Dynasty Daddy rankings. He's down at wide receiver 28, Brian Thomas. So I don't know if you can kind of slide that in because I think DK is down at 20, and then Garrett Wilson's all the way up at 7. So I don't think it would get done, but that was like where my head was at.
Like in my head there, I was just thinking more about wanting to get more points and less concerned about like the value of it, because I think Garrett Wilson's value is, I think it's really fragile. I think it's still high right now, but I think it's coming down. And I can imagine, Ron just gave us the next 4 games for Garrett Wilson. What is his value going to look like in a month? Is he still going to be wide receiver 7, or is he going to be down more like wide receiver 15? And I feel like it's trending that way, and I would rather get out while I can still.
So, KTC, he's wide receiver 10.
Okay.
DK Metcalf's wide receiver 13, so you're probably not going to be able to get much if people are looking at KTC out in the wild.
Could you get like an additional starter, like along the lines of like Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown? Like they're doing things, but
I would like that.
Chuba has Jonathan Brooks on his way back at some point, and Chase Brown has a Zach Moss problem. Just somebody like that you can at least toss into your lineup, and you're just like, maybe on the off chance we get a shot here. Look, Chase Brown had an awesome week. I'm gonna hype him up.
He's
I like
fine.
that. The one with Chuba, I'm just a little worried how many more weeks they're going to use him. I know they're not rushing Jonathan Brooks back, but I mean Chuba's got I think he's my start of the week running back, and he's gotten the volume.
Yes,
and they're going to continue to ride him until Jonathan Brooks comes back. But I think, maybe they use both of them when they come back.
Maybe Jonathan Brooks.
See, I don't think there's any need for.
So it's still.
I don't think there's any need for the Panthers to rush him back.
I agree.
I think.
What are they playing for?
Exactly, they can look at themselves and be like, I mean, at worst, we're like at best, we are like sneaking into the playoffs as a wild card team.
There's no way.
Andy Dalton. Oh, right. I mean, but you also, as a team, you're not going to say like, man, guys, we really suck. We should just pack it in for the year. Like, this is a professional franchise. You know what I mean? Like, these dudes aren't in the locker room thinking like, like they're not at that point yet. They're not midway through the season. We're getting there.
Devontae Adams.
Listen, that's why he's a different cat, and that's why the Lions would never trade for him, because they're not trading for anybody that's like, I got a hammy, I can't play, trade me.
Yeah.
So speaking of Devontae Adams, he was the next thing. I don't have any Devontae Adams on my teams. I don't, I mean, he was a Packer, so it probably leans into the Packer hate. That's why I never wound up with any Devontae Adams on my teams. I was just taking other people around there. Do you guys have a lot of Devontae Adams? What are you doing with Devontae Adams? You hope like there's no way he goes to KC. They've already said no to that. Like I would hate for him to go to the Saints. I know he loves Derek Carr, but like that probably crushes Shaheed or Olave, or everybody just eats into everybody there. And then like if he goes to the Jets, like I would be excited about that because Aaron Rodgers is just going to pepper the dude with targets, and they have the rapport from Green Bay and everything. That's got to be best case scenario for Devontae at this point.
So I have one share. My team is competing there. If I can move him for something, I would, but I haven't really tried just because I think he's kind of a sour name right now.
Sure.
I think he ends up on the Jets, but I think a sneaky fun spot would be the Commanders. And I think it would really help Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
I think it would continue to help Jaden Daniels. So I think this is, kind of leaning towards the Jets. I'm with you, Ron. I would not like if he goes to the Saints because I'm really liking Olave starting to get a little bit, more used. And then Shaheed's being used well as also. So I think a good landing spot is probably the Jets. I think that helps Garrett Wilson. I saw something, I don't remember who said it, but they said if the Jets get Devontae Adams, they're going to go to the Super Bowl, which there's no way. I just don't think that. Okay. I don't think that team is.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, goodness gracious. So yeah, I just think that's kind of where he's kind of getting himself like, hey, I want to go with the guy I know.
You can't trade him right now. Like you just can't.
Yeah.
Not until he gets traded in real life, right? Like, and realistically, like he's one of those guys. It's like he doesn't really make sense for anyone right now. He's not playing, so you're waiting to see where he goes. If you're a contender, you don't necessarily want to trade for a guy who's not going to play for at least another week. Let's say he gets traded, like. We don't know. Sometimes guys traded midseason, it's hard. Like they don't always like work out because they're learning a new playbook unless it's somewhere where they've gone, previously has an offensive coordinator where the playbooks kind of overlap a little bit. And then on rebuild, he's old. He's 31, right? So you can't get. Nobody wants him. Rebuilders don't want him.
Totally.
Contenders don't want him. So you just you're kind of holding the bag on him and hoping that he goes somewhere where he just starts lighting it up, and then you can try to move off of him, but.
It's
a frustrating asset to hold right now.
Yeah, I haven't even tried the one share I have. I have him in some redraft, and it's just a bummer. He's a guy that I probably should have, been like, hey, I should not draft him. But I'm redraft is hard. That's just the end of it. If you're playing 100%, almost close to 100%, dynasty redraft is very, very hard in my opinion.
I hate redraft.
Yeah.
Hate it.
I'm leaning towards that way too.
It's going great for me. Okay. So also we have Amari Cooper potentially being traded. He's got some links to the Chiefs. I haven't seen anything about this. I feel like Amari is kind of one of those guys too that always is like when people are talking about guys that are going to get traded away, like Amari Cooper's name is kind of one of the first ones that pops up. Definitely if the Chiefs, trade for Amari Cooper, that's, all wheels up for Amari. But, other than that, he's kind of like Devontae. He's kind of just sticking on your roster till he dies at this point. I mean, you're not going to get any sort of fair value for what he could do. I mean, he could have had a good game had a holding penalty not been called.
Yep,
and it's a totally different thing. And then there's, I think it was week 1, he dropped like a 50-plus yard touchdown as well. So, like, he's been close to some monster games, so it's not like, out of the realm of possibility for him to go off.
Yep.
He's been a lot closer to being more, your mood being different on him. If he catches some of those passes, if that phantom call against the Browns last week against the Raiders didn't get called, right? Next thing you know, like he's in a lot better shape, but things didn't happen. So, man, I don't know. Like I still believe in Amari Cooper. He's a really good player. If he do you think like at some point, like if Deshaun Watson just continues to not play awesome, like I feel like Jameis Winston like helps Amari Cooper because he'll just huck it anywhere,
right?
Which is great. And then Amari Cooper all of a sudden is just swimming in volume.
It's gonna help DJ. What's his name?
Njoku.
Yeah, thank you, David Njoku.
Yes.
So I think it was, it's interesting that Amari Cooper is kind of being linked to being traded, because I've also heard that the Browns are also interested in Devontae Adams. But in my opinion, every team that has enough cap should be interested in Devontae Adams. He's a good player. I think it'd be really cool if Amari Cooper was traded to a team with a better quarterback, and I also think it'd be nice if Jameis Winston played. So if either of those two things happen, I think it's better days ahead for Amari Cooper.
For sure.
Definitely agree there. Okay. You guys want to talk about some of these trade targets you guys have on here?
Yeah, so I'll start. Like, the way I kind of went about this was thinking, like, if I'm 1-3 or maybe like 0-4, and I'm like legitimately 1-3 and 0-4, meaning that I'm 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th in points for. These are the guys I'm looking to move to kind of get off of some volume. A couple obvious names here, right? Like Tyreek Hill, CMC. They're just a little bit older. They're not really going to do much on your rosters. Like, they have no business being on there for rebuilders. But then some of the other ones that I think are a little more interesting just because they're a little bit younger. Travis Etienne, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore. All those guys I'd be looking to ship off because like Travis Etienne, like the Jaguars are a mess right now. Brian Thomas Jr. looks good. That's about the only person I feel like good about on the Jaguars right now, especially putting into my lineup. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, they're kind of like, and really, I'll throw Drake London into that same mix. Those are three guys that are just like super talented, but the production's just never there, and it hasn't been there. And it's one of those, like, at some point, if you're rebuilding, like a lot of those teams, you're probably in this situation, and a large part because of them, because you were counting on them to be like wide receiver ones, and there's not. Trade them for extra first plus. To get just restart and just try to get a new wide receiver in next year's draft class or running back, whatever it may be. Tank Dell, T. Higgins, kind of a little bit. I mean, Tank Dell, he's kind of more in a situation where he's just kind of the third fiddle in that offense, and he's just. I mean, Stephon Diggs is a squeaky wheel, and Nico Collins is just he's a beast, right? And so Tank Dell kind of gets the third string in that offense. T. Higgins, he's just always banged up, right? Like.
He had 10 targets last week. He's hard
to trade that too. He did, but like if you're on a bad team, like try to get. I mean, he's not going to help you, and like who knows where he goes next year? If he goes back into Cincinnati, which I don't think he does. I think that bridge is pretty burned. There's very easily can downgrade a quarterback from Joe Burrow to whoever. DJ Moore, Shane Waldron bites in Chicago. And that's not going to get good. Jalen Waddle is one that people still believe in, and people can tell themselves a story about Tyreek Hill being gone, Jalen Waddle being the wide receiver one. I don't think that's in his range of outcomes. Personally, that's a personal thing. But those are all guys I'm looking to move, and I'm looking to get ones and twos either this year or next year primarily.
Yep, love that, and I'm with you on Jalen Waddle. Like to me, I think he's always going to be an upside 2, right? If he's the wide receiver 1, I really would need to see it in order for it to play out. I don't know if it's just I'm with you, like a little biased or whatever, but I just think he's an upside 2 next to a guy that is a true wide receiver 1. And I honestly think T. Higgins is kind of the same way, but he could show me otherwise. And a couple of these guys that I really like here to move off of is ETN. Unfortunately, you're probably going to take a loss on him right now, but if you can move him for anybody or if you can move him for ones and twos, do it in a hurry. And then same with DJ Moore. If they can't get a new whole coaching staff, like he's doomed. Waldron is terrible. So it's rough. So unfortunately, and I think like another guy that's kind of doomed right now on the Bears is Rome Odunze, and he could be a guy that maybe if you are not playing well, is maybe a guy you can go out and try to get, because I think this year is going to kind of be a redshirt year. Unfortunately, he's going to be playing, or fortunately, that should be good. But I'm hoping the Bears are bad enough to where they just clean house, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, and then better days ahead for DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, because I think Keenan Allen will be on his way out after this year.
I agree, and I think realistically the Bears don't make the playoffs, which doesn't look like they're training that way. I think Eberflus is gone, right?
Yep.
This is what
He
his
should be, in my
third year in
opinion.
Chicago. He's kind of he's gotten a few second chances already. This is sometimes like either the coach gets fired or they get the opportunity to like bring in new coordinators and let's try again. This is now his, he handpicked this coordinator to fix the offense. It's not working. It's not looking good. Now, granted, it's a month into the season, but I don't think he's going to get too many more chances. So there's a decent chance that he could be gone. And then Rome Dunze will be looking a lot better. And some of these other assets too. Just look what happened to Jackson Smith and Jigba after Shane Waldron left. He looks he's like running a full route tree. He looks
looks good.
Like a good player.
That whole offense looks really good. Seattle's offense, and I kind of not necessarily. I don't want to say I knew it, but in my opinion, Ryan Grubb is a very good offensive coordinator. And so we saw it in Washington. At Washington, their offense was good. They had 3 really good wide receivers. I don't even remember who their running back was, but he was good. I should know, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Dylan Johnson.
Yes, thank you. And he was good. Obviously not good enough to be a NFL running back, but he looked good during. Kenneth Walker looks great. Stud.
I mean, even Charbonnet looks good.
Yeah. So
he's fine.
I think, I think DJ Moore and Rome Odunze are guys that maybe you can go out and try to buy on teams that you're not doing well. DJ Moore will probably score you some points up and down, but it will be up and down, so it probably shouldn't hurt you too much. Unfortunately. And then someone like Caleb as well, I think he's not going to score you very many fantasy points this year, and so I think he'll be better days are ahead as well for him.
For sure. I think some targets I kind of put down here too, like some of the obvious ones, right? You want to get guys who are injured and won't score you points, right? And kind of in that vein, like JJ McCarthy, Rashee Rice, right now, if he's out for an extended amount of time, you can usually get a little bit of discount. But then some guys who maybe aren't super expensive. Darnell Mooney, he's only 26. He's he's been good. He should be fairly attainable at the moment. Keaton Mitchell's a guy I like. He is obviously he's hurt right now, but when he comes back, I think it's pretty open. I know they like Justice Hill there, but I think Keaton Mitchell's a really good kind of counter running back to Derrick Henry. And he's not going to score a ton of points, but I think he has some upside. Jalen Polk, I think the Patriots, if they figure out kind of some of their offense and they kind of get the offensive line together, Jalen Polk's a good wide receiver. I think if Drake May, if he doesn't suck, which we will see, Jalen Polk should be solid. And then Braylon Allen's looked really good for the Jets. He's one Breece Hall injury away from being just like a monster, especially if they kind of fix some of the offensive line issues and some of the offensive scheme things they got going on in New York. Braylon Allen could see a huge value spike. So just some guys that I think that and kind of on the same vein too, sometimes it's if you go after one guy directly, whoever you get the trade from, the manager will be like, well, why do you want that guy? And I was like, well, let me counter with something else because you're probably going to want more. So sometimes it's almost better to hide who you're going after, just is more just theoretical kind of stuff. But if you kind of package players together, that way you don't tip your hand too much on how much you're valuing certain guys. And if you just give them a straight up pick or a player for the person. But.
Love it. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to touch on with the guys, maybe you could get them if your team's not really producing, or just in general, you might want to get out of him. Is Zay Flowers? I'm just not loving the Baltimore offense. And so I have just a bad
gadget guy, really.
Yeah, like I said, but really, it's just I think they're just going to run the ball. They're going to throw the ball a little bit, but they're just going to run the ball a ton. And I know Lamar Jackson likes to come out and say, "Oh, I run second," but no, I think they're just going to run the ball, and I think unfortunately Justice Hill is going to be involved quite a bit. They're going to toss the ball out there, and so it's tough out there for Zay Flowers. It's tough out there for Mark Andrews. But my opinion, you should maybe try to move off of Zay Flowers. And if you're going to move him, you could probably get yourself a Ladd McConkey and a plus, or somebody like Chris Godwin. That might be hard to get right now. But like even like I'm still liking Amari Cooper. I know we're really wondering about it, but and then maybe you can get a plus with Christian Watson. I know he's coming off possibly an injury, but I think someone like any type of those wide receivers, if you can move off of Zay Flowers for those guys, I would be happy with that.
Yeah, like Zay Flowers, that's a great call out. Zay Flowers is one of those guys where he's valued around like a wide receiver 2, but he's like the most like replaceable wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Just looking at his fantasy finishes this year, from week to week, he's 35th, 11th, which hey, awesome 11th, but then 71st, 93rd this past week, like in PPR finishes. He averages you about like 10 points a game, which is fine in the flex spot, but like, dude, you can replace that so easily, and he's like a brand name, 10 to 12 points a game kind of guy, as opposed to like hell, Darnell Mooney's getting you that kind of points a game, and he's way cheaper. So,
Yep, right on. If like even if you
Ron, you look like you hate this conversation. What's going on there? You feel like you wanna,
I'm cooking up a trade.
Flowers hate. Yeah,
I do hate it. We pumped him up so much this off season. I think they freaking. I think they steamrolled the Bills in that last game. So Derrick Henry rushes for 200 yards. We don't have to throw the ball. I think it's a long season, and I think
stopping them from doing that to other teams. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong, and that's why I didn't want to, shout it out when I was sitting there thinking about it. But I think there will come a point in time, and I think players go through, like, not everybody is Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and is just Amon-Ra St. Brown, like volume. No matter who I play against, it's a good matchup for me. I do, even though the Ravens did steamroll the Bills, I do think that the Bills are a solid defense. I don't think they're good at stopping the run and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson run game. But Zay Flowers is not one of those elite wide receivers, but in his offense, he can be that top target earner still. And I think, maybe he's just having a lull of 2 games. He's a young guy, so I don't see shipping him off, unless you're really upgrading your points per game. If you were to get like a Godwin or something along those lines.
Yeah. So
like, I'm not doing like Lad for him right now, because like we're going to talk about Lad later. Like, Lad's not getting you any points right now, really. I mean, it's kind of, just trading for another year younger.
Yeah, I got you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I pulled up some trades here. Like here's Zay Flowers on a 25 third for Chris Godwin and Kate Otten. If you need the points, I like that. Zay Flowers for Aaron Jones straight up. I don't love that one as much. I'd rather have Zay Flowers because I think Aaron Jones kind of falls off here soon.
Get more.
So I think it really depends. But really, like I just think. I think the Ravens are going to run the ball a ton, and so I can see a little bit more. I do agree. There's not really anybody outside of Zay Flowers, but I just have a feeling.
It's not Mark Andrews.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly not Mark Andrews.
So and I know the Bills have a good, secondary, but the amount they use Justice Hill, like, I'm just worried that's going to be the Ravens moving forward. And I think the Ravens overall just do whatever they can each game to win. That's the most important thing. And even, Lamar Jackson came out and said it, right? So I just worry that, moving forward, there's going to be a lot of disappointing games for Zay Flowers. And that's kind of why I would try to move off of him.
It's fair.
Exactly. And fair. This was more in the context of like you have a 1-3, 0-4 team. Like, I think like just how I prefer to play. Like if I have a Zay Flowers, like he's just he props up my Dynasty Daddy trade value or my team value, but he doesn't actually do anything for me. Give me if I can get like a late first for him, which I think is pretty reasonable. I think you can.
Totally.
Let me take another shot on a receiver and just see what happens.
I don't think this gets done, but Zay Flowers for George Pickens straight up. Like I'll do that as well.
Holy.
I'm probably higher on George Pickens in general, but I would do that. The rest of these I don't love, so I don't need to call them out. But yeah, like I would do that for sure.
Would you do Zay Flowers straight up for Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I would. I think
What about
Worthy's
Jaden
going to
Reed?
get you more points. Jaden Reed, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Reed
Ron, what
definitely.
about you?
I would take Jaden Reed. I will take Jaden
Yeah.
Reed.
Okay.
I think he's the clear wide receiver one in Green Bay.
Totally.
He was the highest valued coming into the season. We should have bought more, honestly, when he was at a lower value, when it was a question as to who it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think Jaden Reed is.
Yeah, let's see what he's
really
trading at
good.
right now.
Definitely got that one wrong. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's
So
a lot
right
of
now,
guys in the
Jaden
NFL
Reed.
we can't hit them all.
Yeah.
Jaden Reed was yesterday's traded for Rashee Rice in a second. If that's a playoff second, I think I'd do it. Two of those, Rashee Rice for Jaden Reed straight up, I'd do it. So Jaden Reed for Worthy, I think that's a toss up there. I think I lean Jaden Reed. Yeah.
I feel like Jaden Reed is like who we want Zay Flowers to be, but like the passing volume's just not there, and Jaden Reed's just better.
Yep.
Sure.
Agreed. Let's hit on T-Law.
He sucks.
Stinker. Yeah. Fire the whole organization.
Let me see. I moved him down like quite a bit. Let me see. Let me see.
I did too, but probably not as much as you guys. I moved him down to my tier 9. I put him below Tua, so they're 15 and 16, in respectively in there.
Too.
And
I have them. Okay, this is gross. I have him tiered with like Justin Fields and Daniel Jones and Derek Carr right now. I buried that MF.
Wow.
He's just bad. And you know what? He's bad, and it is what it is. Like
that's fair, but I'm
tired of making excuses
those names.
I didn't either.
No, I told you I buried him. It's like we can keep making excuses for these guys that they suck because they were the first overall pick, and it's the same argument that people had for Trey Lance. It's like, well, he was the 103 and he never had a chance or blah blah blah. But we've seen this from Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't do anything. He turns the ball over a ton. He's wildly inaccurate. Like he makes good throws, but he makes so many more bad plays. Like just watching him is incredibly frustrating, especially too. And like Brian Thomas Jr., to his credit, which I was completely wrong on BTJ, and I will apologize right now. But dude, he looks so good, and he's running wide open, and Lawrence just can't hit him, or not as often as he should.
So consensus, real quick.
Dude blows.
Yeah, he's terrible. So real quick, consensus on Kyle Pitts is if you have a better option. Like even Zach Ertz, start him over Kyle Pitts.
Honestly,
Nick says I can't start him either unless I have nobody, which is a possibility. But I'll move him if I have a better option.
So Kyle Pitts, in the Discord, someone was asking, I think it was Stranded actually, it was like, oh, Kyle Pitts or Eric Hall. Honestly, and I said this and I was like, I felt gross, but I'm gonna start Eric Hall over him. Because at least he's not gonna get you nothing. And he's a good player, and they throw to the tight end quite a bit. Kyle Pitts, like, honest to God, he might just give you a nothing burger, or like a one catch 6 yards. He also might score a touchdown. So there's that, but I can't trust it. They don't use him.
Kyle Pitts or Tucker Kraft?
Oh, easy, Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, that one's easy.
This is just for starting, right? Right.
Yeah. I'm saying if we're if you're down to the bottom of the bunch and you don't really have anybody else, then I'm still starting Kyle Pitts, but I'd rather him get 680 and 1 on my bench than start him and get a 0.
Like Kyle Pitts he's basically to a point where he gets you a touchdown or he's useless in your lineup at this point.
Yeah.
Whereas there are other tight ends who at least will get you 4 for 38 or something, which isn't great, but it's not totally killing you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta get some points in the lineup. That's for sure. 680 and 1 incoming. Gosh, the whole Kyle Pitts conundrum of holding that value as the tight end one because we had no tight ends, and then all of a sudden we had tight ends, and now we don't have tight ends again. It's just so frustrating. Rough. I mean, Laporta, Kincaid, Geez Louise. Brock Bowers had a down week.
James has been looking a little bit better though.
Yeah, he definitely has. It's just it's gross and it sucks again on tight end. I thought we had it figured out for sure.
McBride's about the only one, and I mean I know he got hurt this last week. He missed the game with concussion, but he's been the one that you've been like, okay, he is who we thought he was. And he's been a good.
He is who we thought he was. Oh man.
Yep. Dennis Green reference for you guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit some starts and sits of the week.
Okay.
Let's do it. Holler, kick us off with your quarterback.
All right. Sam Darnold. This might come back to bite me, but revenge week, I just think, to me, the Jets aren't exactly what they're out to be, their defense for exactly, and I just think, obviously the game is in London, so it's going to be a little bit tough. But for me, I think he's going to continue his hot streak, and we'll put together another QB 1 week. Just fire up your Addison, fire up your Aaron Jones.
Addison looked awesome last week.
Yeah, I think
man.
Sam
I'm so
Darnold will
glad
be
I
just
slid
fine.
into my lineups.
Yep, same.
I got another revenge week against a former New York team, Geno Smith against the New York Giants. You guys remember he spent a year in New York?
I do.
He did until you said that.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Love it.
He is QB9 on the season. The Giants' pass defense is terrible, and Geno Smith and that Ryan Grubb offense has been looking awesome. DK Metcalf is going to be just feasting this week. JSN. Geno's a good. He's a baller. He's making really good throws, making good decisions. The line is protecting enough. Love me some Geno.
Yeah,
love it.
Definitely. Yeah, that was a super good start of the week. You guys had awesome starts of the week. I got to mine late. This is all straight vibes only. I'm shooting vibes, Baker. Baby. Yeah, Baker versus Atlanta. Baker's been on a hot streak, man. He threw 50 pass attempts last week, so we'll get on that. He can use his legs as well when he needs to. So, and he's Atlanta's been up and down, so we'll see what we get from Atlanta this week and Baker. What you guys got for running backs?
I think that should be a good game. I got Chuba. He's been amongst the best running backs, in usage per se. They're going to continue to run him to the ground. And he's coming off 2 consecutive 100-yard games. Not just rushing, that was rushing and receiving. And so they play the Bears this week. I think Jonathan Brooks is going to they're going to slowly bring him back. So I don't think he'll be back for probably, I would say, another 2 weeks. So I'd fire up Chuba until Jonathan Brooks comes back. And then I'm assuming they're going to use both of them. And even going back to last year, Chuba has been very usable, and it's just been solid overall. So continue. I think it's a good game against the Bears.
The Bears. Jeez, what a mistake that is. Jeez Louise.
What a mistake that is. All right. My running back's a little gross, but this is Trey Sermon. They get the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. And I feel bad. I feel like we're just crapping over Stranded's teams this week, which wasn't intentional. But, I mean, the Jaguars are a little bit of a mess. They're giving up 7 most points to running backs. It sounds like JT. He didn't get Jonathan Taylor didn't practice this week or today, that is. If JT can't go on Sunday, I think Sermon should be in for a big workload and with that offensive line against the Jaguars, I think they should be in good shape. I bet he gets in the end zone. And look for him in DFS too. He should be pretty cheap.
Sermon was going to be my pickup of the week if we were to, be a Tuesday show. I spent some, not like a ton, but a good amount of fab on places he was available. There wasn't many, but there was one that I could use a running back, and I will fire him up if JT is not playing, because that
if
defense.
If JT does play, don't. I mean, this is out of don't play.
Yeah. Ron, if we have time, we'll hit this trade on
okay
on live air. Go ahead with your running back.
I'm going with Kareem Hunt versus New Orleans. It's just straight out of left field. He walks onto the field and basically outperformed Samaj P. Ryan and Carson Steele last week against the Chargers. It might not be pretty, but they got to hand the ball off to somebody in Kansas City. And, you know what? I think there's going to be a little pass catching and a lot of running back carries, honestly, with the way their defense plays. And, no Rashee Rice for the first week. So all wheels up. I'm firing up my Kareem Hunt that's been just rotting on some rosters.
Yes, sir. Love it.
16 team goats, baby. Start 3 running backs.
That's fair.
Love it. So hopefully we'll hit this trade here because it's not tight ends yet. So my wide receiver of the week is Wan'Dale. Great game last Thursday. Ton of targets. We're not sure. I haven't really seen news on Neighbors just yet. He left the game with a concussion.
Yeah, practice today, so it's not looking awesome, but monitor the situation.
Not looking good. To me, the Giants are going to be behind most of the game. So I just think he's going to be peppered with targets this week. Hopefully he gets in the end zone. But honestly, so far this season, he's had a whopping 38 targets. That's close to 10 a game. And so I just feel like he's really coming into be a solid wide receiver. I would say 3. This wide receiver 2 on his team, but for fantasy, I think he's turning into a really solid wide receiver 3. So this week, fire up with confidence, especially if Malik Neighbors doesn't play.
For sure. I mean, Wan'Dale's always been good when he's been in. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
All right, my wide receiver start of the week. This is kind of gross too, but it's a similar vein. Trey Tucker. He's been quietly pretty solid this year for the Raiders. Devontae Adams isn't playing. Pat Surtain isn't going to shadow Trey Tucker. I can promise you they're worried about way more than Trey Tucker. Last week, though, he had 5 catches, 41 yards, and he got in through a rushing touchdown as well. That's kind of who their big play guy has been going to. All the deep shots go to Trey Tucker. Those Raiders-Broncos games are always a little gross. But I could see a world where Trey Tucker gets in the end zone. This is more of a deeper league. If you're, the bye week started this week, there's 4 teams on bye. There's a lot of entries piling up. If you have to, kind of reach down into your bench, see if you have any Trey Tuckers to throw in there because he should be at least get you something, right? Not a super exciting pick, but he'll get you some points.
I'm going to fire up all the JSN this week. They get that terrible New York Giants defense. Geno is just hucking it all over the place. Just becoming a target hog himself, that's for sure. Looks like we have a trade that popped in here. Do you guys want to hit this one? We can run a little over, right? We're not too far.
Let's do it.
You can run over. Just
before we hit our tight ends, we'll do it. So 10-man PPR, Burrows, Jacobs, Connor, CD, Chase, Kincaid, DK, JMO, Ford, Chase Brown, Downs, Wicks, Worthy, Brooks on IR. He's 2-2. The 1-3 guy offered me Gibbs and Smith.
Is that Geno Smith, I'm assuming?
Yeah, Geno Smith, probably for DK and Connor.
Yeah, I went Jahmyr Gibbs, assuming that's super flex as well.
Yeah, definitely Gibbs. Yeah, definitely Gibbs.
Yep, I agree.
It's the Gibbs side for me, for sure. Yeah. But I do like DK, but Gibbs.
Right.
Oh, Devontae Smith. Oh, even better. Yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
Wow. Smash if it's Devontae Smith.
Yeah, smash that.
Yeah.
Smash that for sure.
Yeah, that would be I'm
DK
buying a new
Connor?
phone because I just broke my phone.
Why would I'm just confused on that trade in general because I don't know why.
It has to be a redraft, right? I'm assuming it's probably a redraft then, right? Because
we'll get answers.
Connor. But anyways, tight end starts. I'll hit mine real quick. My Tucker Kraft, we talked about them earlier, going against the Rams. Luke Musgrave didn't practice today. Kraft scored last week. Tight end landscape, you're hoping for a touchdown, and I mean Tucker Kraft is a good threat to get in the end zone.
Yep.
Definitely.
Give me Cade Otton. I just actually acquired a Cade Otton, and he's gotten 17 targets over the last 2 weeks, catching 13 of them. I think the target share continues. I think, and he's playing against the Falcons, and they've given up 12 points per game to tight ends. So I think that continues, and I think he's a fringe tight end 1 this week. If he gets in the end zone for sure, but if you can get I don't know, 6
He'll
targets for
roast. I
60
love it.
yards, and he's going to get you another 12 to 15 points. So fire up Cade Otton.
Definitely. Okay, so let me get back to the show doc because I was fooling around. The show favorite, the Hog Daddy himself. They're playing Miami, and Miami
Love
is just in the pits right now, man. Nothing's going well for them on either side of the ball right now. So I think he can just vacuum up those targets like he's known to do.
I like it.
All
Is that
right,
your hog?
before we get off,
That's my hog.
Don't answer that.
Interesting. All right, so me and Ron just got a trade done.
Oh,
We did.
We just got a
All
trade
right,
done during the
let's
show.
Thanks, you're in the league too.
So,
fun.
one thing about this is a short bench. So I'm gonna need
you
to
say
make some
during the
trades.
show? What the hell are you guys doing? All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've been
What was
showing
your
up
trade?
trades the whole show.
So I sent Jonathan Brooks and a 25 first for Amari
I want
Cooper,
that
Brian
side.
Robinson, and Cade Otton.
I want the pick in Jonathan Brooks.
That's fine.
Thank you.
My team is
But you know how I
right
feel about Brian Robinson, so I'll just.
I've
Yeah.
been trying to tank this team since I drafted this team, and somebody finally paid
That
me
makes sense.
for
So,
B-Rob
Spanky,
and Amari.
your calculator says to accept. Market says to decline, and the market and McSpanky says neutral. So I figured.
See, there you go. So you can make it either way.
A good trade.
Yeah. No,
I
it's
think
a
it's
fine
just
trade.
fine.
Me personally, I like Jonathan Brooks and the pick. I usually lean towards the pick. Brian Robinson's fine. He's been awesome.
It's crazy. I had talked about it earlier in the show. I'm having a hard time moving picks, but we have a little bit of a shorter a shorter starting. It's I think only start to 10. So it gives me a lot of options here. Like I have on my bench DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel right now. I may switch it around, but like Devin Singletary, I know.
Then Howard.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
And that makes total sense.
Ramondre Stevenson's kind of in the tank right now, but he's on my bench as well. So I think Brian Robinson really helps me there, and I'm going to ride Chuba to the ground. So
I wish you would have told me you were going to drop Jameis because I would have taken Jameis in the trade if you.
I know I didn't really want to drop him, but that was like what I just because with the shorter, it's a shorter starting and even a shorter bench. Like some of these other options to drop, I couldn't do it.
Don't worry.
Oh, I have Devontae. I have David Montgomery too, so he's on a bye.
Okay. See, I feel like that makes a ton of sense for both sides. I like that trade a lot. Just in the back end, I like Brooks, but
makes sense.
Can't fault either one. I think it makes sense for both of you. Good trade.
Yeah.
Let's go
as well. Yes, indeed. Anything else tonight, guys?
That's it.
I think that's all I
Go
got.
out and trade Rashee Rice for George Pickens. You heard it here first.
Only if you're lucky like Holler.
Roster dependent.
Roster dependent. 3-1, 4-0 teams. If you got yourself Rashee Rice, go out and get George Pickens. Done.
Get some points. Get some points.
Alrighty. Well,
peace
out. Thanks for watching. Bye.